Well, we've got a packed program for you, but then again, I'd say that every day because there's always so much good content. Oh, somebody out there said, prove it. All right, let's go. On today's show, artist and author Amie McNee says it's shameful that art has been relegated to the kids, the retired, and the wealthy. We discuss her new book, We Need Your Art, an urgent call to dismantle everything that we've been told as to what art is and who it's for. Spoiler alert, it's for you, and you need to hear this. Also today, what would your championship meal be? Alex Smyth, host of Parasport Nation, is posing that question to us today and gives us the context as to why, on how and what athletes might choose when it comes to their championship meals. I know what I would choose. Pick me, pick me!
This is Kelly and Company.
Kelly MacDonald with you here. Thank you for being with us as well on the program. Remember to check out our podcast from your platform of choice. Give us a rating and review. Also subscribe to our YouTube page. We'd really appreciate that. Lots of great content up there. Lots every day being put in place on our YouTube page. Nisreen Abdul-Majid handling our social media, co-hosting on the program today. A big good day to you on our Tuesday.
A big good day. How's it going?
So far, pretty good. And I have to say, we're kicking off the show with some amazing content. We know I'm an art person. We know I love theater. Years ago, I played piano, trumpet, baritone. But notice I never ever talk about doing that because I didn't do it too long. The theater stuff really took me. We were talking about you and a bit of art recently, and some on social media, some right here. We've got a fantastic first guest on the show.
Yeah, so what if the idea you scrapped for not being good enough was the one that someone else needed to hear the most? Amie McNee is an author and artist whose new book, We Need Your Art, is a serious wake-up call for anyone who's ever said, it's not good enough. She's here to talk about perfectionism, permission, hustle culture, and all the other blocks that keep artists, especially those with disabilities, disconnected from each other and from unapologetically taking up space in our culture.
What if making a mess is the most generous thing you could do? That's where we started with Amie. Here's what she had to say about creativity as defiance and how we could basically gently talk back to that voice in our head that tells us not to bother.
You say that creativity is an act of defiance. What does that defiance look like for someone picking up a paintbrush or a journal for the first time in years?
Oh, amazing. What a beautiful question to start with. I think when I say it's an act of defiance, I mean that it's a rebellion against a world that wants you to stay quiet, that wants you to stay compliant, that just wants you doing, in inverted commas, productive things. We have kind of sidelined creativity for something for children or something for maybe retired people. But adults don't have permission to play and explore and create for the pure fun of it. So it is an act of defiance, and it's an act of defiance against a world that is obsessed with production, that's obsessed with doing things that are serious. We're reclaiming joy and play in our lives. And so when you pick up a paintbrush for the first time, you're inviting like a childlike wonder into your life, which again, I know it seems like a frivolous thing, but it isn't. It's rebellious against a world that wants you to stay compliant, small, quiet, and obedient, I think.
Yeah, so many of us get into, or who are in the art world in one way or another, we know to do let's pretend, and that's so important and so what liberates us. But you have said you grieve all the art that hasn't been made because of perfectionism. How do we start to dismantle the voice in our head that says, who do you think you are to make this?
It's such a loud voice, and we all have it. Like I have it today, and I've been creating for so long, and it's just that little voice in our head is always going to be there in some way because creating is so vulnerable. And when we do something as scary and as exposing as create art, and especially sharing our art, we're always going to have a voice that says, I don't think you should really be doing this. Who do you think you are? And so I think we need to start learning how to take care of that voice. They're often just a very frightened part of us who would much rather stay, in inverted commas, again, safe. And safe means hidden, not seen, small. And so how do we take care of that frightened part of ourselves? So for me, I have journaling as a practice where I take care of that small frightened part of me, where I say it's okay, it is safe to be seen, it is safe to take up space, it is safe to make mistakes, it is safe to make mess. We are not living in a culture that allows us to make mistakes, allows us to be messy. And again, comes back to the first question of art is an act of defiance. So when we make mess, when we make mistakes, this is an act of rebellion against a world that wants you to be perfect. So getting rid of our perfectionism is going to be a very long journey. We need to take it one baby step at a time. But for me, my practice is I make a little bit of crappy art every day, and I teach my body and my mind that that is a totally safe thing to do. We need mess. Nothing beautiful, impactful, innovative happens without us making mistakes and getting a little bit grubby.
That's exactly what I've been telling myself lately, ever since you told us about your book, We Need Your Art. And for the longest time ever, I haven't picked up a paintbrush or pencil crayons because of my vision. I just wasn't good at it at all. And the fact that many people just around me are so perfect. I have friends in the art industry and they take it so seriously. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm not good at this. I'm not even close to that. So I'm not going to pick up pencil crayons or a paintbrush. No way. And recently I've just been drawing for fun, and it is a journey because you're like, I don't want to show this to people because this looks like a child drew this, but it's fun. It's fun.
It is fun. So, I'm so proud of you. This is such a big part of the journey, and it's so rebellious to do something like that.
Yeah.
We have so many standards. Like I think people think, oh, if I'm not good straight away at any type of art form, then there's absolutely no point. But there is so much point to creating, even when we're really, really bad at it. Mm-hmm. There's so many incredible studies that look at what art, the creative act, does to us physiologically, what it does to us mentally, what it does to our communities. Like it's an incredibly powerful tool for self-improvement. I always say creativity is the missing pillar in self-development. We're just not talking about how good art is for us. So even though we live in a culture that says you must be brilliant in order for this to be worth your time, that's a lie that's been fed to us. And we get to rewrite this story. And it is so beautiful that we can just create because we want to, because it feels good, and we don't have to validate that by being excellent, by making money. Like art is our right as human beings, and I want us all to claim that.
It's an incredible thing, Nazreen, when we were talking to Amie earlier through this conversation, it dawned on me how much permission that I was blessed to be allowed to do Let's Pretend, because that's what gave me the bravery to get out there, be on stage, and to start taking it more serious from just, what's this weird thing to do in high school to get a credit, to going out and being involved with community theater and getting to understand script, understand how important it was to develop myself, but not take myself too serious, not think myself so big and I had to be a certain way. I had to go and do a Shakespearean play or a show like that just so that I could say I'm an actor. It's that ability to give you something, a license to create, to be as good as you can be, but take from it what you want. And that's what you're starting to play around with, almost as a satisfactory, relaxing thing to reintroduce yourself to. And I think that's what people have to do in picking up the art that they like.
It has been smooth and relaxing, absolutely. I have to underline the word bravery and courage, because it really does take you being brave and courageous. And it's not easy. It's not easy to show people what you do and not be scared to feel ashamed or embarrassed and vulnerable. It has to happen. It has to happen. And as she said repeatedly, like this is a process. It's a journey for everybody. So we're going to get into this. For artists with disabilities, it's not just about making art. It's about reclaiming the value of art, even when it's not polished or profitable. Amie's got a powerful metaphor from her village in Oxfordshire that might just inspire you to hang your own creative flag.
Amie, you've said that sharing your work isn't just about visibility, it's about agency. That if you don't tell your story, someone else will, and they'll probably get it wrong, of course. So what makes it critical to take charge of that right now, especially for artists?
I think so many of us are living in this world right now, seeing what's happening, and we feel like we have absolutely nothing we can do.
Yes.
We feel like we have no agency. We feel like we have what can we do? Like, how can we do anything? We're just one little human in this world that is absolute chaos. And for me, when I look at the creative act, I see this is how we reclaim agency. Because when we make art, we become like a god of our own little realm. We see that our actions create impact. And so I think for a huge amount of us, we're feeling purposeless and we're feeling helpless. And I think the act of making art makes us realize that we have the ability to make impact. We have the ability to be heard. Our voices are important. And so I think for many, many groups of people right now, we're feeling incredibly alone. We're feeling almost like existentially depressed. So I'm calling us back to our creative practice. It is an instinct that is so, it's been with humans for, so many years. Like, this is so human to create. And I want to reclaim this practice because it gives us a feeling of agency. It gives us a feeling of I can do something. It reminds us that our voices are important. I think it's going to be a salve to a lot of the feelings of meaninglessness and I can't do anything feelings that are prolific and everywhere at the moment.
Wow. And not wanting to see, like you said, the likes or having to, I think that's one of the biggest lessons people have to deal with, that your work, creating it, the beauty of that, the satisfaction of that, whether you have one person see it or nobody, there's a level of what it does for you that nobody can add to or take away.
Yeah. It's the process.
Yeah.
I think we are so obsessed, and again, it's a symptom of the late capitalist world. We're so obsessed with the product, and what does the end product do? How many likes does it get? How much money does it get? And we're completely neglecting the fact that art is the process, and the process is so valuable in so many ways. And we need to start becoming obsessed with the process and recognizing what the process does for us, for our bodies, for our minds. It does huge amounts, and we've just been neglecting it. We've been refusing to see it because of the culture that we're living in.
You said that sharing imperfect work is an act of rebellion, but rebellion can feel scary. What helps artists get over that first public share?
Rebellion is scary, and art will always feel scary because it's inherently vulnerable. So we need to find ways to do brave things and take care of ourselves, because it's incredibly important that we share our art, we share imperfect art, that we take this stand against the culture of perfectionism. I'm going to say this really gently, but I think one of the biggest things that we need to do as artists is we need to get over ourselves. I think we need to zoom out and recognize that sharing like a piece of work that didn't reach your expectations is not that big a deal. It's a generous act to share imperfect art. It's a generous act to take up space even when you're not entirely sure if it's good. And we need to realize that this is just a little thing. We don't need to take it that seriously. I think we are encouraged to take art so seriously, and we're told to, fret over every little detail of that post you want to post on Instagram. But again, I'm just going to gently say it. I think we need to get over ourselves. I think we need to zoom out. I think we need to realize there's a bigger picture here. I always say that the hardest part about being an artist is like we need to take this seriously, but we also need to take it not seriously at all.
We need to chill out, basically.
Yeah.
You need to settle on down.
You said, it's a whole process. And I feel like in this society, we're so focused on, okay, how many shares did it get? How many likes? How many followers did I get? But what other barriers and creative blocks get in people's ways?
Oh, there's so many. Bless us. When we endeavor to create, there's going to be so much stuff that comes up for us, and that's because, again, creativity is so vulnerable, and we kind of expose all of our beautiful lightness within ourselves, but it can expose a lot of our darkness. All of our narratives and stories and trauma can really be exposed when we create. And it's a lot of the reason why many of us just don't ever dare to approach it in the first place, because we know that it's so exposing. But it's also an incredible tool for healing, because we do get to witness these parts of ourselves that are crying out for help. So another really big one that I see is this feeling of imposter syndrome, this feeling of almost like jealousy and comparison. This, who am I to do this?
Yes.
They're so much better than me. Why am I taking up space? And again, I very gently want to remind anyone who's navigating this feeling of who am I to do this? Like, you are the artist Humans are born creative. You are the artist and you are here to take up space and create. And so when you get this feeling of who am I, it's you are the artist. And I need you to repeat this to yourself again and again and again. Like you are here to create something. And you are someone who has never been seen before and will never be seen again. You have a perspective on the world that is literally unique. You're a one-time phenomenon in the universe. And if you choose not to take up space, we will never, ever see what you have to give ever again. No one will come close. And so we need to kind of take that responsibility on and understand that we actually do need to take up space and use our voice in this world.
Yeah,
That's
I had
so
a well-known actor I knew at one time here in Canada say to me, you know, there's those moments I feel like I'm going to be found out for the charlatan that I am, or something like that. He said it's one of my worst nightmares, and he said you get this doubting yourself, saying, what am I? As you said, Amie, what am I doing here? And I've noticed people going to see theater, they go when they're told it's okay to go. It's a good show. And I think that, like the artists that take themselves too serious, we get high on that. Oh, well, my work must be good because people said so, as opposed to, as you say, the creation, the enjoyment, your own self-satisfaction. You know, it's fantastic is listening, going back over the conversation from earlier, because I think so much of what we talk about and what we hope online will go viral. All the work people put into things, and knowing when just to let it go, or the things that you may have hurried to put out there that people seem to like, that there's no way of knowing, and to not display all of it is a disservice. And that's kind of scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll tell you a perfect example where perfectionism shouldn't be a thing. Okay, nothing's perfect, and it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter to be perfect. It's great to be creative and messy, and none of that matters. I'll show you a perfect example. When I post reels and TikTok videos online, I end up getting more likes and views and shares on the posts that I don't even try. It's just an instinct. Okay, I'm just gonna post this and see how it goes. But the videos that I actually put effort and I make sure it's like absolutely perfect and absolutely great, and I know for a fact it's gonna get views, I don't get that much. I don't get that much. And why is that? People
Don't know.
It's I think it's nice to show your imperfections online. I think it's really nice to show your vulnerable side online. That's what I got from Amie. That's what I got
Me
from
too.
Amie.
That's where I feel art is. And online, I know people try to solve that puzzle. Who knows where it goes? Who knows what the reason is? But something Amie also got into with us, the thought of, what if you're not sharing your art meant the world missed out on something that only you could give? Now, this last clip is the heart of Amie's message to us, and maybe the most important reminder for anybody out there who's felt my voice. It doesn't count. But I want to discuss the many artists out there with disabilities, a lot of our audience out there, and thinking about what they want to do. Many artists with disabilities are told explicitly or not that unless their work is commercially viable or hypervisible, it doesn't count. How do we reclaim the value of creative expression outside of late-stage capitalism?
This is one of the biggest questions that I think creatives have to face right now. And I think it's one of the most exciting questions we have to face, because I think there's a real narrative shift that we can have, and we get to reclaim the value of arts outside of late-stage capitalism. Because currently we're living in a world that only values, like the GDP is based on, only commercial value. Like, what does this thing bring to the economy? So I want us to start choosing how we measure things. And when we measure the value of creativity, it doesn't just need to be in what it brings to us financially. It needs to be in the experiential value. How does it bring us closer to community? How does it bring us closer to ourselves? How does it make us feel? Like, we've been taught that there are only a few ways to value things in this world. And the major one, obviously, is through how much money does it bring us? Yeah. We see with social media as well, it's like, how many likes does it have? How visible is it? These are the metrics that we have been told and sold. This is how you're going to value your life. And And us artists, we get to, and it's a hard job, but we get to say, I don't want to measure my life by these standards. I'm going to have a new way to view my life. And so when we create, we get to say, how much did I learn today? How much did I play today? How much delight did I get? How did my body feel as I, played with my guitar? How did I feel afterwards? What connection did I make when I allow people to hear my singing voice? There are so many other ways to measure value in this world, but we're just not taught them.
It's almost like we'd love to get to that point where we have that satisfaction, where we play by the rule of what satisfies me.
Exactly. And that, again, is incredibly rebellious. And I think people maybe don't take me too seriously when I say that art is rebellious, but it truly is. And it's these small moments of reclaiming our own value, saying what we believe our value is to be, and like delighting in creativity that it's revolutionary.
Can you tell us about the bunting tradition in Oxfordshire and how it speaks to the value of art beyond commercial interests?
So I live in a small village in Oxfordshire, and every spring they do an event called Oxfordshire Art Weeks. And so
cool.
Villages and towns all over Oxfordshire, and I believe they're all over England. Basically, it's a time to celebrate the arts, and they have this bunting that you put outside your home or the pub or the cafe, and it says basically there is art to be seen here. So you can go around and you can go into people's houses, you go into the pub, and you go and witness your community's creations. And I live in an extraordinarily creative community. There is bunting everywhere, and you can just pop into people's houses. You just walk down the street and you witness what it is they create. And I have really seen evidence of what art does to communities in my village, and there's some amazing research on it. Dr. Maria Rosario Jackson she studies like what art does to communities, and she looks at how in disenfranchised communities, like even before bringing back perhaps more traditional methods of help like health or education, she brings back the arts, she brings back culture to disenfranchised communities, because when we have culture, when we have our arts, when we're able to tell our stories, communities heal. And I love the research that it looks around this, and I think we've been robbed of the arts. Mm-hmm. Like communities have been robbed of the arts, and when you see horrible things happening in the world, you see culture being robbed of communities. Mm-hmm. And so I love watching my village, literally open its doors and say, hi, I create things. And most people aren't professional artists, they just want to share the art they've made. And so this year I'm going to be doing it for the first time. And I'm so excited to, open my doors and have my art on the walls, and to get to just be in community and talk about my creations with people.
I love it. It gives
brilliant.
People such a license to do it, like just to say, hey, and because others are doing it. So let's take that forward. What would it look like to hang the bunting in our digital and disability communities?
So beautiful. This is so powerful, and what an incredible thing to reclaim, our art, your voices, your stories. This is so unbelievably needed. And so I want this bunting everywhere, and it doesn't need to be physical spaces. And I think that's the blessing of, there are obviously a lot of complications with this, but with our connection economy, with social media, we have the ability to put our bunting up online so that we can do it in our own homes, in our own spaces, and in our own time, and do it in a way that serves us. But we need to be taking up space. We need the disability to community to be visible. We need to be seeing your art, your creations, your stories. So I love this idea of the metaphorical bunting. Put it up. It doesn't need to be up all the time. It needs to serve you, and it needs to work with how you like to create. But to put the bunting up is an incredibly generous and powerful act.
Isn't that brilliant? I feel like I can't imagine people putting their art out and showcasing it in their homes in Mississauga and Toronto. I can't imagine it.
Oh, yeah. And opening the doors for everyone. So great.
Yeah. That was Amie McNee, the writer and creative guide behind We Need Your Art, talking about reclaiming creativity as an act of agency, especially for those of us navigating perfectionism, burnout, and systems that weren't built for us. Her book is available as an audiobook and other accessible formats on library.ca. You can also pick up a copy from indigo.ca or wherever you get yours. For more from Amie, visit amiemcnee.com for more. And that's AMIEMCNEE.com, or follow her online at Inspired to Write.
Absolutely fantastic. Email us, folks, at kellyco@ami.ca, or call us 1-866-509-4545. Always love to hear from you. Parasport Nation, on the program, host Alex Smyth highlights upcoming parasports events in Canada and abroad. He pulls back the curtain on how parasports are played and interviews parasport athletes, coaches, and trainers. Alex, welcome back, and you're kicking today off with a question for us.
Yeah, so this is going to be turning the tables a little bit, so to speak. The whole reason for this is because the Masters were played last weekend. Obviously, Rory McIlroy came away with the win. But one of the fun, unique elements of the Masters is the winner gets to set the menu in the clubhouse. Like the following year, they host a dinner. They get to set the menu. The odds already for Rory's menu include things like Irish stew, very classic dishes. Well, Scotty Scheffler won, and he got to set the menu. Some of his kind of menu options included cheeseburger sliders, a cowboy ribeye, and a chocolate chip skillet cake for dessert. So me and Nathan, we had fun with this, like posting the question back and forth of what would your championship meal be? So I'm going to throw the question to you guys, but first I'll share my answers for context. So I started with an appetizer of assorted Chinese dumplings because I'm a big dumpling fan. Then the main, it's going to be tacos with a side of Caesar salad, very odd international flair. And then ending up for dessert, it's going to be a lavender creme brulee, something very fine and delicate and refined.
I'm
Ms. Reen, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Yeah.
What would your championship meal be?
Okay, you had me at appetizers, either sliders or wings. Okay, and then the main is, I'm going to go with a steak. I'm always down for a steak. I know, bougie like that. And I'd say the dessert, I'm gonna have to put it out there. Creme brulee. I'm gonna stick with creme brulee. You had me at creme brulee.
I'm gonna start with lobster and eggs. One of my absolute favorites. People have not got into that. I wouldn't mind some kind of salad for those who just kind of like, whatever. Salad, though, with some corn, cherry, tomatoes, that kind of stuff in there. No cucumber. I'm not a cucumber person. And then I want roast beef or prime rib. I'm not fussy. I love it done nice with some horseradish available on the side. And if I can get away with it, some Yorkshires. And for dessert, I'm going to go standard chocolate pie. I'm an absolute chocolate pie with or without whipped cream, guys. Alex, we're tight on the time, of course, but we want to quickly get into who your guest is on the on PSN today.
Yeah, so we have Dr. David Legg, returning a previous guest, a friend of the show. He is the former president of the CPC, and he joins the show today to talk about the process and the pros and cons of adding and removing games from the Paralympics. It's a fascinating conversation. We go in depth, so be sure to stick around and check out that conversation. It's well worth it.
Coming right up on the program, Alex, of course, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks on the show. Thanks for being with us. AMI's Parasport Nation on right after Kelly and Company on Tuesdays and Fridays on AMI Audio, available as a podcast, and on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Kelly & Co. AMI. On our next show, in just a few weeks, Toronto's playing host to the second Canadian Pushing the Boundaries Conference, where international advocates, allies, and experts are coming together to think and talk about forward-thinking inclusion. We speak with Conference Chair Susie Soto on the show tomorrow to find out how they're building long-term momentum for the disability community. Fedora's off to you. Have a great day.
Thanks for tuning in to Kelly and Company. Follow us on all social media, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more.